Hello. Good evening, boa noite. Back in 2019, several of us met and through several invitations. Synchronicity Earth, University College London, Carolina Comanduli, they were all part of a very interesting, beautiful event, Flourishing Diversity series, where several of you were there or somewhat contributed. This event brought together indigenous peoples from more than 30 countries, if I'm not mistaken. And two of those groups were the Ashaninka from Brazil and Peru, and also the Guarani from Brazil, Bolivia, and Argentina. Today, 5 years later, we are very gifted to have some of them here again with us. And I was thinking about Jerome's invitation to become a flourisher. And I thought several of you have been responding to this invitation, and today we extend this invitation to join an affectionate alliance. Back in 2019, we relaunched an alliance for the Amazon and beyond that is hosted by the Gaia Foundation alongside several of you here. And it is also with great contribution from Synchronicity Earth that hosted the Flourishing Diversity and also co-convene elements of the Alliance. And it is in the name of these two organizations, the Gaia Foundation and Synchronicity Earth, that I would like to invite our guest speakers to join me here and also to welcome all of you. And if you haven't yet hugged me or received my hug, I'm here to claim that. I would like to invite first Kerexu from the Commission Guarani Yvyrupa. She comes to represent the Atlantic Forest biome in Brazil. Please join me in welcoming her. That's a pleasure. I would also like to invite Arnildo Werá, also from the Commission Guarani Yvyrupa, that represents the Pampas biome in Brazil. There are many fights going on behind the scenes, and it's very important to acknowledge those that have been honoring their ancestors who were killed in the front line, so we can be here together. And I would like to welcome Claudelice da Silva Santos from Instituto Zé Cláudio and Maria to join us here today. We cannot talk about socio-environmental conservation, and in Portuguese we say it together, social environment, without reminding ourselves of Chico Mendes, the great rubber tapper and syndicalist, whose daughter is here to honor his legacy and share that with us, Angela Mendes from Chico Mendes Committee. This process of affectionate alliance started before several of us, before me, and we had Chico Mendes, we had the Ashaninka together on this fight, bringing what flourishing diversity means to life from back then. And I invite here the siblings, Moisés, Ashaninka, Moisés Piyãko, to join us here today. And his sister, Shãtsi Piyãko. I would like to finish by saying that there are many people that are not here. Some of them have become ancestors, fathers and sisters and brothers from those people that are here, but also some of our colleagues here that were with us back in 2019 and they're not. But I just want to say that they are here with us somewhat, be them represented by our energy, by our vibration, and also welcome and say that we have here some representatives of the Atlantic Forest. And thank you also for the gift of being present and bringing some of those gifts with you. Thank you. I now invite Nessie Reid from Global Diversity Foundation to join us here and convene our panel. Thank you so much.
I'm aware Is it working? Can you hear me? Oh. I'm aware I'm right on the edge. So if I fall off, I'll be fine. I'm quite resilient. Thanks, Christabel. It's quite snug up here. So good evening, everyone. Thank you so much already for such an incredible, rich sharing. Absolutely beautiful. My name is Nessie Reid. I can hear myself speaking in Moisés's headset. It's quite off-putting. I'm from the Global Diversity Foundation, and I'm also a farmer and a herbalist. So I live on the west coast of Wales. And hearing the beautiful song earlier about the cow, it took me right back to getting up really early in the morning and just going and seeing the cows and our goats who normally escape. So it's normally trying to chase the goats back, and just hearing them chewing the cud and the bird song. And that was a beautiful moment. It took me momentarily back to Wales and then back here to Soho. So the Global Diversity Foundation is, in fact, not a foundation. We are a non-profit charity, so we support grassroots leaders and change makers all around the world, particularly folks in the Global South, working at the intersections of biodiversity conservation and environmental justice. And I was very lucky to be part of 2019, the Flourishing Diversity Summit. So it's wonderful to be back and to be sat back here in London. And it's just such an honor to be here with you all, just to be reading your stories over the past few days, and talking today was such an honor. So it's with great honor I'm here. And I'm gonna try the best as I can to facilitate or steward the conversation over the next hour and a half. And in order to kind of keep the flow, we're not going to have a Q&A. We're going to actually just really have it as a listening session. But at the end, there is time, if you would like to, and if our wonderful speakers would like to have a more informal conversation and a Q&A. But just to keep that movement. Great. So I'm gonna start with the question. And then we're going to weave in possibly more, depending on time. Can everybody hear at the back? Just checking. Great. So in the face of compounding threats, be illegal logging, illegal roads, drug cartels, narco-traffickers, poor public policy, systematic corruption, the list goes on for so many of you. So many of you are at the heart of an extractivist boom. And yet, at least from where I see it, your struggles, but most importantly, your victories, through that you found not only ways of coping, but of organizing in an empowered, creative, strategic, almost trickster way. I'd like to hear from each of you, or however you wish to interpret this question. How have you and your communities sustained resistance? And in some cases, how have you rebuilt from collapse or after collapse? I'll repeat the question. How have you and your community sustained resistance and resilience? And Ju, I'd like to start with you, or I'd like you to start, if that's okay.
Good evening, everyone. I would like to thank all of my friends here. I am Aju Kerexu, and my people whom I belong to has made me the seed of the great Guarani people. I come from a land that is close to the sea in Paraná, Guatacate, in the indigenous land of Ilha da Caatinga. So, talking about resilience, strength and persistency that my people have, I believe that it comes from something we always say. We are in a world where politics, especially in the Brazilian territory, makes us adapt to something that kills us, kills not only our people, but also other peoples. And we understand that our struggles, especially the spiritual struggles, they help us to remain firm and strong, trying to find a common path for everyone. The Guarani people believe in a world that is called Illumina, which is a land without evil. Our people, the Guarani, have sought this for millennia. And according to this cosmovision, we believe that our ancestors have gone to Werá with their physical and spiritual bodies. But those who stayed are still seeking and need to strengthen themselves in the physical world. That's why the Guarani people keeps this seeking inside our ancestral territory. We also study our dreams because that connects us to ancestrality. The Guarani people, when we talk about our territory, we are also present outside of Brazil, from the tip of Uruguay to the tip of Bolivia. So the Guarani territory is vast, and the Guarani people has always moved between different territories. And today our reality is confined to small tribes, small villages that are spread around this territory. These are not territories where we can hunt, that allow us to live off of fishing or off of our traditional plantation techniques. So when we talk about the resilience of the Guarani people, it also comes from what our ancestors taught us and our elders taught us, and that we call tekoa, Nyandereko, which is our way of living as a Guarani. We believe that it is only when you live collectively that you have the necessary strength to carry on. Because this is a territory that is close to the coast, this is also the people that suffered the most. We are during this week, we are having a very important week. It is also the week of evasion in Brazil. We are still talking about the colonization process since the invasion and up to the present time. So this week, we are trying to talk about the importance of our ancestral voices, our struggles. And also, we just wanted to bring this call that we share the same territory, all of us. We don't have a planet B, we don't have another Yvyrupa apart from this one that we're living in. We are here and we are willing to teach how to maintain this planet the same way that we have been maintaining it in our territories for millennia. We have an answer. We are here to teach the path so that we are able to keep what we've got today. But unfortunately, we are running out of time. We are running out of time. We don't have time for doubt. We don't have the time to ponder. We have to fight together, or we are going to see the end and the death of Mother Earth. So being here today, sharing a little bit about our ancestral knowledge is very important. When we reflect on how much the Guarani people have suffered and still suffers for a number of different reasons, especially us from the south that have to explain that we have indigenous peoples in the south of Brazil. Yes, indeed, there are indigenous peoples that are guardians of the Atlantic forest, and there are indigenous peoples that are guardians of the pampas. We are here again repeating that. In the south of Brazil, there are indigenous peoples. The guardians are there. So I just wanted to bring our strength with all of the violences that we suffer, with everything, all the difficulties, all the obstacles that we face. We are here. The Ava Guarani people in the west of Paraná, they are still suffering. They are struggling to try and feed themselves and end the day with their lives. So we are here to represent them too. This is something that is happening today. It happened the day before yesterday, and it will continue to happen. All of us that live in these territories, Yvyrupa, the world, we need to look at each other with all of our differences and think about answers together. We just need to decide to fight together. So this moment is essential. We need to understand that our existence is not just ours, it's not just for us. When Guarani, when the Kaigan people, when other people suffer, all of us together, we know that we are strong. We know why we are fighting. The people, all the peoples of these territories and from the world, we have to join forces because the indigenous peoples can't take it anymore. We are tired. We need to hold hands and be together. So this is it. When we talk about memory, when we talk about our way of existing, of living, of how we behave, how we have suffered, how we have faced, especially climate change in our territory, in our land, this is all part of it. And this is all due to things that we did not cause. We are just trying to fight to maintain the world. Our women are guardians of seeds, ancestral guardians of seeds in the territory, and they also bring the memory of how it is important to maintain, sustain, look after. And when we talk about indigenous women and Guarani women, we always show to the world that our strength comes from resilience and from umburaru, which is a word that represents a being that is good, what is respectable, what is the essence of the feeling of love. A feeling of love for everything that exists and everything that we are. This is how we share with the world. And women bring this. From this, we can resist. And we can show our strength, but together. Not one in the front, one at the back, but side by side. This is how we fight, and this is how we show that it is possible to build and transform the world so that it is a land without evil. A pajé, one of our elders, said, when you believe in a world without evil, you're not just seeking that in spirit, but you seek to transform the land around you. Because a land with no evil is a land where you have respect, love, and the well-living, a shared well-being, a shared good living, so to say. We are all seeking that. And I hope that the world understand that a land with no evil is possible. But we unfortunately cannot wait any longer and think whether this is right or wrong. This is it. Avete.
Thank you so much, Drew. Thank you. It was so beautiful. Arnildo, would you like to go next?
Good afternoon. I don't know if it's good afternoon or good evening now. Well, I am Werá. First of all, thank you for the opportunity for being here with you, sharing things physically, right? And bringing a little bit of the emanation of the people, of the indigenous people, from various places. And many people, many of our brothers and sisters want to contribute with a space like this to elevate their hope, to bring the voice of the past, the voice of the emanation from the spirit, from the planet, right? There's thousands of problems for human beings, for space. This moment is very short for us to discuss all the problems and all the learnings and teachings that we've had from thousands of years ago. And this moment is so important for us to get to know each other. For you to get to know the original peoples, the qualities that they have, the differences in who they are, and on our part, an opportunity for us to get to know you as well. You as people, as extraordinary people. But the thought and teaching is fragmented. Considering more our people, our social organization, both spiritual and political, it's very different from living, from learning collectively. All indigenous peoples are collective. The teachings are passed on in many ways, from mother to child, from wife to husband, from husband to wife. So there's lots of teaching, there's lots of things for us to carry. So many peoples with this colonization, with be it indigenous or not, it was destroyed. The way of thinking was destroyed. And nowadays, for example, we talk a lot about history, about colonization of many countries. We talk about kings, governments. But nowadays, we suffer from a different colonization, which is a colonization that's mental. And we don't know where to go, what path to follow, and until when or how many years we will survive. We as humanity within the planet that we inhabit nowadays. There's a plethora of cases of people who have more money and then they look for a different planet. But our ancestors, because of not much knowledge that's been passed on from generation to generation, we know that this is the only planet we have, unfortunately. And we think that many people who can afford to have a good life are concerned about this, but very few are here trying to understand things. According to my grandfather, my 115-year-old grandfather, up until now, nothing's been learned by him. So imagine us. But according to him, we need to go back to the past. He always says this, to get to know us, to get to know our origins, so that we can understand various things. For example, we're all homeless people who are despised by many people, right? And then we think, but what do you mean by that? Well, we're all homeless. We're all wandering about without purpose. And each one of us is seeking for things, but we're only temporarily here. We're trying to go back home. But we have thoughts which are very fragmented, so we are not able to know what problem we have, what challenge we're facing and will face. And then on the other hand, we have survival. We need to breathe. As I said before, this is a moment where we have very little to bring to you, what our thoughts are, what the collective of struggle and survival is all about. It's difficult for us to just boil it down here so you understand a little bit. But there's many things. For example, there's the spiritual side of things, which is taught. We are taught to maintain it. And there's the political side, which is the fight to continue to hold on to things. So we face a lot of challenges. Sometimes the two of us here, we represent people politically, but it's also family, because politically we are within a family, we are within a collective aspect. But this learnings that we have within the village is something that we transform into tools for us to defend ourselves and to defend something which is not material, for example, spirituality. So here we talk about the forests, the animals. One example, there's various species of animals. And the characteristics of each one of them for survival, what's left to today, is something that we look and we see in an outline. But think of the diversity, both for human beings and animals as well. And we also have the matters concerning the forest as well. We talked a little bit about compassion and love here. And we think, do I have love in myself? Is this love that we know something that's simply related to romanticism between woman and man, man and woman? Is that what it's all about? But even when we translate this love, sometimes, for example, a couple fights. But then they will say loving things to each other later on. But the indigenous love is different. The indigenous love is something that one breathes. When you get a simple animal, as much as in the past we hunted to survive, but we also respected animals, and we still do. What's the right moment to fish, to hunt, to harvest? And what's the right moment, for example, to chop down a tree? And so these invaders, with their greedy, they come without thinking how they could be handling this type of space and abstract things concerning, for example, spirituality. On the other hand, we also think about the forest. The forest has life. It's what supports us. From when we're born up to when our lives cease to exist. And it was quite interesting what someone talked about here about dinosaurs, right? Imagine everyone here who likes to see cartoons, within this group of dinosaurs, there were predators, right? Which were very ferocious. They thought that they could dominate everyone. And at some point, with the explosion, with the meteor, that was it. They ceased to exist. And nowadays we hear stories. And sometimes we have things that are a figment of our imagination. And then thinking of today, we, human beings, are predators in one way or another. We, for example, consider things politically. The governments, for example, they are predators. They're trying to create something that doesn't exist. And then how are we going to feel? We're nothing, right? We're nothing when we're before these governments that mistreat people and life, for example. Think of the situation of indigenous who are minorities for many governments. To wrap it up, I would like to say that it's very important for you to understand things when we talk about climate change, about the destruction of the forests. the decimation and the deaths of indigenous peoples who are protecting the territories and the survival of everyone. And this is something it's done for the agribusiness, so they take away lives for that. And for example, this city is doing well, there's no poverty, there's no hunger. But if you know the story of where this food comes from, then you wonder, this grain of rice, it was not planted in an indigenous cemetery. Yeah, but without noticing, we think, oh, my tummy is full, it's good, let them die. I talk about this considering the Brazilian territory. Wow, people are planting food in indigenous cemeteries. We have a lot of respect for that space. It looks like it's pleasant to see, to watch it without being able to help, you know? But we're here not because, oh, you need to help us because, I don't know, whatever reason. We want to have this awareness. The little you're bringing here, you could take to half a dozen people to pass on the information about what survival is like for indigenous peoples and how this will play out in the future. Are we, for example, creating a spaceship like a multimillionaire is doing so that everyone survives? Is this what everyone is going to do? And we've been dreaming. We're not waking up. We're sleeping during a time that will suddenly have a climate catastrophe without us noticing. And our grandparents already said that. They already said that we would get to this moment. I'm 40 years old. I don't know if I will see this catastrophe. But I need to plan ahead for the future generations so that they protect the planet and it doesn't happen. It's important to teach the little ones so that they defend the land. And this defense of the land, of the communities, of the villages is not about like, oh, this is my land, my home. It's not what it's all about. We talk a lot about the Amazon, but we also have the Atlantic forest. The first invasion of the Portuguese took place in there, and they ruined everything. This is why nobody remembers, right? Because it's gone. It's part of history now. And why, for example, in big cities in Brazil, like Sao Paulo, Rio de Janeiro, they still have this breathing space? Because there's a little bit of the native forest, and also there are indigenous peoples in this land. So it's different. They also ruined the Atlantic forest, the pampas, and everyone is looking at the Amazon. This is something very bad that's reproducing itself. And we're here, we have our arms crossed, and we're like, oh, okay, good, the government. There's nothing lacking here. We're doing well. But, as my grandpa would say, there's no indigenous people or white people who are doing well. We are all on the same boat, and that boat is going to sink, and it's going nowhere. So everybody needs to stand up and say, no, we defend humanity, not indigenous peoples. Nowadays, unfortunately, when we talk about protecting the climate, we talk about indigenous peoples. And why? Because they are connoisseurs of the topic. They know how to organize things. But as I said, there's not a lot of time to speak, but I'm very grateful for being able to speak on behalf of our ancestors of emanation, especially from the Guarani people. And we have a lot of joy for being here to share a little bit about the things that we're learning every day. So to wrap up, for example, my grandpa always prays. We wake up praying. We spend all day praying. We eat praying. And why is it that we're quiet when we're eating with our partner? This is because we are savoring life, which the Great Spirit has provided. So we savor life. We have this physical contact. We're able to feel and experience the taste, the matter, which is something that we only experience in this planet, this flavor. And many people think, oh, okay, but after we die, it's going to be better. But no, there's no other life with the contact, with the savoring. This life, this is when we learn. This is why we have love. We pray at night, not only for one person, but for everyone, so that everyone has the joy of being able to be here today. And that's it. I would like to save a prayer, which my grandpa always teaches us. I am learning it too, about this spirituality things, which is deeper than what we're covering today. Spirituality is not just for anyone. And my grandpa, who's 115, always says, I've learned nothing. Imagine you who are still crawling. This is no laughing matter. And many people joke about it. It's very difficult to pray with a microphone, right? It's okay.
Thank you, Werá. Claudelice.
Good evening to all who are here tonight. Thank you, my friends, for this song, for this prayer. I come from a region where I grew up listening to stories and watching the stories of those who are always in the struggle with fire and iron, where you can see the story of those who came before, people who were killed brutally quite often. And I grew up amidst a social movement for the fight over land and the defense of a standing forest. And not even in my worst nightmares did I imagine that one day this fire and this iron would touch my skin. In 2011, my brother and my sister-in-law were leaving the forest, the place that they had helped protect their entire lives, and they were received with gunshots in an ambush. It was 7:30 a.m. when I got news. Very abruptly, someone woke me up, shaking me and telling me, "Claudelise, they have killed Zé Cláudio. But it looks like Maria is alive. We need to go there now." We were in the city, and on the same day, we were going to drive to the Indigenous reservation anyway. And the only thing I remember is I started running on the street, and I didn't know how I was going to get there. We didn't have a car, a motorbike, nothing. I just ran. And by chance, I met a friend that took me to the city of Nova Ipixuna in the southeast of Pará. And there, he told me, "I'll take you to the police station. You need to report this because maybe the police still doesn't know. The killings had only just happened." And then the constable looked at me and said, "Do you know what happened there?" And I said, "My brother was killed just now. We need to go there." And immediately the car that collects people or bodies of people who were killed arrived. And that was the longest trip that I've ever taken in my entire life. And when I got off the car, that image of my brother with several bullet wounds, without his ear that had been cut out, and next to him, my sister-in-law, also dead, full of bullet wounds. That was the most terrible image that I have ever seen in my entire life. On that day, nothing else made sense in my life. How are people who defend the forest, people who defend the rivers, the territory, the land, how can they suffer in their bodies such an evil and cruel brutality, such an inhumane act? The peoples of the forest fight for humanity, of everybody, not only of the humanity of our territories. So why is that our bodies suffer with the violence? Why is it that the land suffers the violence? When we report what happens in our territories, this is us crying for help. And not just for us and for our people, but also for you. Also for those who are not here yet, but that are coming. Ever since I have been in a legal struggle for justice because unfortunately, up until the present day, the person who mandated the killing of my brother and sister-in-law is still free. The impunity of the land invaders, of those who destroy the forest, well, those remain impune and they can bring violence again, but we will not be quieted. We will not lower our heads. When we go across to another continent to talk about what happens in our land, it is because we don't want to see our people being killed because they defend their lands, their territory. Zé and Maria fought for their land, fought for their community, and all they got paid was with impunity of their killers. And after them, lots of other people were killed. At this very moment, there are people being threatened in our lands. We transform this pain and this revolt in a process of fighting. We've created a small organization called Institute Zé Cláudio and Maria to honor their memory and to be side by side with other defenders that need to be protected, that need to be welcomed, to be looked after, but also to receive legal support and strategies for protection and care in a way that Zé and Maria did not have. So along with other organizations and other defenders that were or are in the same condition as Zé and Maria, we've created strategies of collective protection, individual protection, and we now have a brick-and-mortar place called Casa de Respiro da Floresta, or Forest Breathing Space. It is a space where defenders that need to be looked after can come to. Not just in Brazil, we are connected to other networks that support us in this work as well. The Alliance has supported us as well. A number of friends here have supported us and helped us create this space. And the reason why we have to create this self-protection mechanism, the reason why indigenous peoples and traditional communities have self-protection mechanisms is because we don't believe in the protection of the state. So we have to create our own means of protecting ourselves. And with this, we're fighting for our own lives. Other than that, it's extremely necessary that we are attentive to the movements of the state. It was said here, it is the state that permits invasions, killings, and violation of the bodies of those who defend the common good. So we need to be attentive, alert, and part of the Zé Cláudio Maria Institute's work is to follow closely the state policy for both defenders' protection and environment protection. How can the Brazilian state be the hosts of COP30? The governor of the Pará state saying that he is the greenest governor of the world, and on the other hand, our land is suffering through all of this. How can this happen? It's a contradiction. They negotiate our forests without consulting peoples and communities. They build dikes, they build waterways without considering the communities and the people who use the rivers for fishing, without considering that these people don't just have to be asked, but they have to allow, because legally this is how it's supposed to work. So this is also part of our work. Instituto Zé Cláudio Maria doesn't work alone. We have a network of defenders. And given the fact that we don't believe in the state anymore, we don't believe in the system that only violates us, and we know that the answer is not coming from COP30 because we had other 29 COPs that only resulted in negotiations between the parties to exploit nature. Well, we are going to create our only COP of the people. And we are going to expose companies, chains, banks, and organizations that are inside our territories and that are part of the organizations that don't help us. And that's why they hate us, because we expose them. We created our own spaces to whistleblow, to report, to resist, and to survive. And moments like this one are very important for us to be able to speak and show our pain, to say enough, it is enough. Don't violate our territories. Don't kill the bodies of those who are truly defending nature. So thank you very much to all of our sisters and brothers of the Alliance. Thank you for organizing this event. Thank you for bringing us here. This is very far from our home, but it is very important that you are all listening to all of these stories. And I hope you are inspired to walk with us, because we need these voices to echo beyond the ocean that we crossed. Because in Brazil, our government is not listening to us so much. And this is why we still have hope. Despite the violence that we suffer, there are people who care. There are a diversity of people, and those who have gone to the other side, who have passed to the other side, they are on our side too. They are looking at us, and that's as important as you here listening to us. Thank you for being here, and thank you for the space.
It's such an incredibly powerful story of transforming pain into resistance. It's just from such unspeakable pain into resistance and strength. It's beyond inspiring. Thank you so much. Thank you. Angela.
Phew. It's a very strong thing. We are all there in the same country, in the same biome, but when we listen to a story from our friends, from our family, how violence all affects us, this is a very strong experience. I'd like to, first of all, starting by thanking you, all the ladies from the Alliance, Grace, Mbya, Livia, Carol, for the opportunity to be here today, sharing with you a little bit about our stories of resilience. Because in spite of everything, we carry on. And we carry on for a reason, because we are not alone. I could say here that, well, to introduce myself, I could say that I am resistance. I come from a country which is the second in terms of killing defenders and advocacy leaders, a country that kills a woman every 6 hours, a country where the majority of women who are killed are Black. They are from the outskirts of the cities. They are from the forest. They have a place, and this place determines their fate. And this represents our country and what it protects, who it protects, unfortunately, in any political scenario. But of course, we also come from a political scenario when this was potentialized, and we are still living, unfortunately, the consequences of a far-right government that we had a few years ago. So this is the memory, the consequences. But I don't want you to just focus on this. The message for me is that despite all of this, we've survived. We are here to share with you this story of survival, resilience, and resistance. Today, I am the chair of a committee called Chico Mendes. And this committee, as well as the person that names it, comes from a story of building resistance. A resistance that was born due to violence that took place in the Amazon, and that comes from a population that is very important, the sustainable harvesters or sustainable harvesting populations. These communities, these people, they live in union and in harmony with the forest as well. They use traditional knowledge that they have learned with the indigenous people that were already present in those areas, and they are able to create this, so to say, script of resistance. The history of my father is also Zé Cláudio's history in this struggle and this fight for land and identity. My father, in the 80s, he created a number of strategies to resist, among which was the alliance of the forest peoples, along with other indigenous leaderships that were very strong at the time. Ailton Krenak, Shipasa Shavanchi, Sianka Shinawa, a number of indigenous peoples that joined through this alliance in order to face enemies that were common and that are the same as today, right? The large farms, the land grabbers who falsify documents to take hold of public land, people who illegal log in the forest. So when Werá talks about this issue of how you buy food here, how you feed yourselves here, well, I also wanted to ask you, when you buy something, when you consume something, are you concerned with the origin of this product? In a certain way, this has improved with the anti-deforestation law that was enacted by the European Union, even though we know that England's no longer a part of the European Union. But this, in a way, truly helps protect and fight deforestation. But the Alliance of the Forest Peoples doesn't just fight against our common enemies, but also consolidates a relationship between populations that historically were put in opposed sides, indigenous people and traditional harvesters. that went to the forest to live off of, for example, harvesting nuts of acai or rubber. It's a different logic. It's not extractivism. We see these traditional harvesters as people who know how to respect the land, the territory, people who believe in the encantados, the spirits. We just wanted to share with you that the peoples of the forest in the Alliance were indigenous peoples, traditional harvesters, but this is an alliance that goes beyond any boundaries. It goes beyond peoples, it goes beyond history. All of the resistance strategies that were led by my father back in the day talked about the collective and how we will only find solutions for the big problems through partnerships, alliances, through a collective strategy. And this is how he thought of the seringueiro process, or the rubber tapper process, that brought literacy to a number of people in the forest. That's how he thought of the Pacific movements against deforestation that he organized. And this is how he led the thought of how to transform this part of the forest that had people in it that weren't the indigenous peoples, weren't the originary people, but that were over time populated by this new category. And he transformed those parts of the forest in sustainable harvest reserves. And these reserves protect more than 5% of the Amazon currently. Thousands of people who live in the forest. Acai harvesters, rubber tappers, nut harvesters, andiroba harvesters, quebradeiras de coco or coconut breakers. You have more than 25 categories of populations that are considered traditional harvesting communities and whose relationship with the land and with the forest is one of harmony. So my resistance takes place in this space, updating the legacies that my father left, working with the strength of the young that are in this territory. He left a charter for the young of the future, and the future he referred to is now. And in this charter, he said, "Be aware, young person, of the future." 6th of September 2120, which is the first 100th birthday of the World Socialist Revolution that unified all the peoples of the planet in one ideal and one unit that put to an end all the enemies of society. This is just the memory of a sad past of pain, suffering, and death. I do apologize. I was only dreaming when I wrote about these things that I won't see myself, but I've had the pleasure of having dreamt about them. So he talks about this generation that has already done so much. We have young people all over the world in young collectives, communicators, settled people, riverside populations, all these young people that have been strengthened through this alliance. So the legacy and the collective construction is what keeps us working, keeps us resisting. We are working to strengthen this voice now, to echo the voice of our young. My father understood that there was a revolution back in the day. He was killed, others were killed, Padre Josimo, Evair, so many people were killed. But, well, this struggle has brought about something that needs to be maintained, needs to be kept. And if you know how a sustainable harvest reserve works, well, that's obviously a reserve that belongs to the state, but that can be enjoyed and used by the people who were already in the forest. And as much as with the indigenous land, these reserves are sought after because obviously these are good land to cut trees and transform the land in pastures and also to plant soy. If the young are unable to see a perspective in this land, if they can't see this territory as something that will be theirs in the future, it becomes vulnerable and it could go to the hands of land grabbers, even if it is land that belongs to the state, because land grabbers are very experienced in Brazil and they turn something that is illegal into a legal transaction. That's why we talk about deforestation, no mining. We don't want to just work with legal mining. We can't talk about that in a country where the majority of the powerful ones, of those who detain the power, detain the land, can buy any decisions. They buy the Brazilian state in all its aspects, legal, legislative, executive. We've struggled to elect a government that is a left government, but is an island. It is not because Lula is our president that violence stopped, that we are no longer being attacked. No, because in our parliament, where laws are created and approved, we are still being captive of the agribusiness, the large mining companies, the large corporations. So our strategy is to empower the young so that they defend their territory in the present and in the future. Empower women who have a very relevant role in history. They have to be recognized and their strength has to be recognized. And I'm just going to say to you, you already have a great awareness just for being here. You want to listen to us, you want to inspire, get inspired from us. This is incredible. This makes me think that this is some sort of historical reparation of the biopiracy that happened in the end of the 19th century and that led the Amazon to be in the situation that it is. It was thanks to this biopiracy and everything that it produced that our rubber tappers got into a situation of collapse and became weak, couldn't resist the invasion of cattle raisers from the south and southeast. So it is incredible that you are somehow seeking this historic reparation. And if you allow me to say, there are a number of ways to do it. And it seems to me that you have already found a way through the contact with food, sustainable planting, and the concept of an ecological citizen, which is something very hard to reach. My father, everybody says that he was a great environmentalist, but he didn't even know what that was. He knew he was a rubber tapper. He knew he was a union leader in the essence of the word. So it's important to say that he was a union leader because he elevated the rubber tappers to the category of workers as well. And that led that led our workers' union to understand the workers of the forest as workers with a relevant role. I just wanted to wrap up by saying that we are living in a context that we cannot think about forest of land in that territory without the indigenous people. Since exploitation started and violence and threats started happening against these people and against the forest, we cannot imagine a territory that is unprotected without people there. Because otherwise the agribusiness, land grabbers will advance. When there is no people there, this land has no one to fight for it. That's why we need to understand the importance of people inside these territories. Sometimes there are people who don't know what they're saying. They say that people are the ones destroying the forests, and forests shouldn't have people in them. And sometimes we even hear this from governmental bodies that are there to protect us and to guarantee the access to public policies by these populations. They say we shouldn't have people there because people are hard work. How are we going to have people in this territory? It is easier to look after a conservation unit with no people in it. But when you get a government such as Bolsonaro's and a Congress that is in the extreme far right, they will sell that land. They will allow the exploitation of that land with no proper licensing. So who is going to then fight for them? So I just wanted to say we have a number of strategies, and that's why we survive. But it's not easy. Our voice echoes, but our impacts wouldn't go this far if we weren't supported by many of the partners that are here and that allow us to move, to be able to take our message to the public with some tranquility. So this comes from the support of these partners, and I'm not going to mention one by one. I might be a bit unfair if I do that, but they know who they are. And I would like you to feel our gratitude, our deep gratitude to all of you who make a difference in our organization. We would have to give up without you, but with you, we are here and we go further. So welcome to our struggle. Let's fight together. Because if my father left me something, it's the strength of alliances and collective construction wherever we are. And I'd like to call you to all your support for Palestine and the genocide, fight against the genocide in Gaza.
So much, Angela. Thank you. Absolutely stunning. If you need any water, just to let you know, there's water under the seat if you're thirsty. Great. Shãtsi.
Good evening once again. I'm Shãtsi Piyãko. I'm from the Ashaninka people, from the Ashaninka land of the Ammonia River in the state of Acre. I'm here with Moisés, my brother. Considering everything that's been said here already, we notice the diversity of struggles, of strength and courage, the resistance that's lived by each and every one of the people who are here today. We, the Ashaninka people, we are about 5,000 people. In Peru, where the biggest population is, there's about 130 and 140,000 Ashaninka people. Being here today, for me and my brother, represents an act of courage. It's an act of resistance and resilience. And this is because we come from the grassroots of a society where it comes from a concept of a life or an experience of sharing, of listening, of listening to the land, of listening to the animals, the sound of the water, of the wind, because they are the ones who give us power, who give us courage, who teach us. This resilience comes from this place, from our spirituality, our connection with this world. And in this world, there are very few people who listen. There are very few people who understand. And we, indigenous peoples, we know how to listen. And it is through these teachings that we work with our land. We fight our battles with this Western world. From our very first contact with the white society, our biggest weapon throughout all these years has to do with spirituality, with our dialogue, which is looking, listening, and talking. All of us have a story of fight, of resistance, and getting where we are today. We, the Ashaninka, also have a very sad history, very painful. Many of our peoples have been killed. They were murdered. And regardless of that, we did not give back this pain in the same way we've felt it with the murdering of our people. What we're giving back is something different. We came from the other side of the ocean to share a little bit about our life, our struggle, our path, about the experiences we've lived in our lives nowadays. Nowadays, the world is focusing on the Amazon. The world is paying close attention to things saying that Amazon is going to save the world via its forests, its rivers, its water. Really? Is the Amazon going to save the world? Really? Is it that forest that's there that's going to save the world? No. You here are the ones who need to look inside yourselves and say, I'll take the responsibility and say that we human beings are the biggest responsible individuals for this imbalance in the world. And that Amazon is here, side by side with you, present amongst you. The responsibility is within each and every one of us. And we're here, sharing with you, showing things, shedding light to show that there are positive pathways, that there are good paths we can take. We're not going to save the planet, but we can improve it. And also reassure our existence in this planet a bit more. Mining, logging, cattle rearing, the deforestation of the Amazon. The forest is not being destroyed just by people who are physically there. Many individuals who are here today are part of this destruction. Many people who are on the other side of the world, on the other side of the ocean, are responsible for this destruction because often you don't know where part of your food is coming from. Part of the expensive bags you prance around with. Part of the expensive garments you wear. Part of the silver, the gold that you possess. Are you aware of what that is? The Amazon rainforest is not untouchable. Our indigenous world is not untouchable. We're alive. The forest is alive. It constantly changes regardless of us tampering with it or not. Just like we do too. The economics realm, the capitalism realm can also walk side by side with this other side, with nature. As long as there's awareness, knowing how to use these natural resources. Because we indigenous peoples, what makes us resist, what makes us be here present today is this way of seeing the forest, of touching it and using it. We are there fighting every single day. Every day there's an indigenous person dead. Every day there are people dying because they're fighting to keep that forest, that land standing. And you, we're here, we've come here We're exchanging our knowledge about this experience. I'm not going to delve into our stories very much, because our story takes the same path as everyone has explained here. I feel represented by what everyone said here as well. What are you doing when we meet one of you in our land to say something, to exchange ideas of the experiences, to discuss things within that land? No. Often we have a guest to see the untouchable Indigenous person, to see the untouchable Amazon rainforest. We also need to listen to what you have to say, to hear what you think, to know your opinion, to learn about what you feel, what you think of the future of your children as well, of the resistance, of the existence of humankind in this very planet. And that's it. This is what I would like to say, what I would like to share with you. And I will let Moisés talk now. He will speak a little bit as well. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. I'm very grateful to have you all here today. I'm grateful for being able to have this attention, for your willingness to listen to us, for understanding more or less our way of living, and maybe sharing things. What you're doing is sharing with us this understanding. There are many stories that we have in our forest, within our peoples, and many stories with all the beings that inhabit nature, all the life that exists in nature. Nature is such a strong being. It dies, it's being destroyed, but it doesn't speak. It leaves it to the conscience of the destroyer or the human being to speak. But the destroyer is the one who needs to learn to listen, to what each one of these beings says. It's our conscience that needs to speak. We talked about small beings, and I love to talk about the tiny little beings which are part of our lives. And a being like that, if it fails, if it doesn't exist anymore, will result in our life being bad. Because the system has a whole network. So if we get light from this light bulb here, there's a whole system for electricity to get here, right? Our lives have systems as well, and it's the exact same way, and it brings us to where we are. And this is what many people, like we humans, don't understand. We don't understand what it is. Dying, if you think about dying, thousands of people have died. Many people have died. How many thousands of indigenous peoples have been killed? People from different peoples, as you listened here. How many rub tappers, riverside communities? Those who were there in the forest, who lived there traditionally, were killed. due to economic interests. And this is very sad for us, because our interest, what's in it for us, is the alliance, is the time spent together, is me getting to know who you are, you getting to know who I am. It's for me to know who's part of my life and know that I'm not living in this planet on my own. We're thousands of lives. Thousands of lives who are living in the same home. So how can we work? How can we just carry on killing each other? And our people has had many ones who fell. And every day, more and more things happen, more massacres. We were talking about Chico Mendes' story and his family. It's such a beautiful story of fighting that got to this place and embraced things and understood what it was and a part that had in his life. But the economic system that was created does not understand that. That means nothing. So they killed someone who understands things this way. You destroy it. Because the only thing that's valued is economics. 4 years ago, in my community, that's not long ago, a neighbor of ours from our family, we were still working in the Peruvian side to get some land, just so that it would not be exploited by the slave owners, the bosses that do this awful thing with people who were in this situation. Well, 4 people from this community were killed on the same day. 4 leaders who were on their way to a meeting with us. The 4 of them were murdered, and they shot them in the head, and they chopped them into pieces. Their legs, their neck. They threw their body parts in a way that not even an animal would be killed. Because in the forest, if we kill an animal, we'll be using that animal for feeding or for something. So there's a reason behind it. But this is so cruel. But our world is very strong. Our spirit is very strong. Nature has a very strong spirit. I don't know what I threw on the floor, but something fell. So it's strong. Nature has a strong spirit. Even when it's silent, it provides answers sometimes to humanity. It calls humanity and says, look what's happening in the climate system, for example. Many people are already dying. They're burning alive. There are cities in your world here where people are burning alive. The heat might kill all of you here because, look, this is cold. This is different from Brazil. If things get hot here, it's different. There, we know about all of that. We have the ice caps, the sea levels that are going up, that are going to drown you, and where are you going to go? Is the economic system going to help to provide land or a home to you, or get a place where you can live? And even if it does that, even if you get a boat for you to live, where are you going to plant? Where are you going to eat? It's difficult. It's difficult when we look at the system and the state it's in, and nobody understands. The science of your world got here, and it was very strong. And they talk about all the system of the planet, the global warming and why things don't get renewed. So why is it that thousands and thousands of millions of reais are being invested in speaking about this if it's not resolving things, and where investments are not getting to where things may be resolved? We're there trying to solve issues, to take care of a system that gives life to everyone. People say, let's restore the planet. This was quite fashionable. Let's restore the planet. People talked about that all the time. And I listened to it and I thought, well, the first thing we need to restore is our minds, is our spirits, is our matter. That's what we need to restore. We need to go back to reality to understand what it is so that we do what needs doing. So it's very hard on us. But in spite of all these ups and downs that happen to us, we do good things as well. We work within all this massacre, this suffering that we undergo. We work on the minds of people so that they understand things. And that's why we're here, because we know all people are connected. For example, in our land where we had logging and the invasion of loggers there, we tracked where the wood was going, and it got to Europe, to Germany, USA. It was here. So people here were killing thousands of lives there, and they didn't care because they're not seeing anything. All they see is the wood that's coming, and money is what matters. The rest doesn't matter. So that's sad for us. And this is the reason for us to be here. But even within this, in our area, in my local authority, we work with those who were our enemies when we demarked our lands, when we left the hands of the bosses, where we became entitled to a piece of land, and we were limited by that. We worked in a format of a world with limits for land. And we know we respect our limits, we respect the others' limits, but we're still not respected to this day. And within this place we're now stuck, we work with our system that's economic. We work to strengthen our traditions. We don't have the space we used to have, but we're still there. It's like this here, getting each tiny piece of this within our tradition, getting it together with animals to see what each one is, living together, working so that we can continue to tell the world who we are. The importance that we have in the balance of the nature of the planet. We create various systems. In our reserve, we studied all our land. We created areas for the animals so that they could breed. And many people ignore. Why do you kill? The law forbids us from killing. Forbids the killing of animals there. And sometimes they say, oh, you can't kill that animal. But why? The law doesn't look into the thousands of lives that are ended so that you can have a soy plantation or that you can have cattle rearing. We do the opposite. We kill animals, but we're not killing nature. We're managing it so that we can always have this for us. Our stewardship is how we take care of animals. We handle animals, create areas for them to breed. We monitor each corner of the space we have so that this will not be ended. We're aware of that. And so we're aware that the format we have when we look at the other format for the economics, like's been done, is something that can't really be compared. It's very sad. We create harvest plantings for different fruits. We have that within all our local authority. When we get the land, 100% of the non-Indigenous were our enemies. We couldn't walk around the local authority for 5 years because they wanted to murder us. I had to be stuck in São Paulo for 5 years. Because even the federal justice, the military, they were all there after me. They wanted to kill me because they were supporting the dealers, the people who were destroying everything there. But as Alexandrina said, we never thought of giving back the pain we had to anyone else because it hurts us really bad. And nobody wants other people to suffer from this pain as well. So we know how to look at things. We know how to respect lives and differences. And we work. My people are warriors. We're warriors. We're the ninjas of the forest. But we got together and said, look, we'll put our weapons down and our army will not do away with it. Our weapons, instead of being the tradition of things we have, will be our conscience now and the word. So let's try to have an arrow now in the hearts of people so that they understand and they feel what we are and what's in nature, in the lives of everyone. And that's how we worked. Many people who got their weapons to kill us were people who never had a reaction from us. And the local authority, which had 100% of people against us, we managed to win their support. We got them to get behind us. We worked with them. We became in charge of the local authority. My brother was a mayor, was the most important mayor of the local authority from history. So we worked on good things for everyone. And the same thing is society for your world. For you to understand, to share, because my grandpa used to say, look, the system we have nowadays is a system where people don't understand because they only want more, more, and more. And they kill everyone to be the biggest. They will die too. And when they die, will they take anything with them? No. So instead of helping those in need to understand what their life is, to share, no. And that's it. That's it. I don't even know what else I could say, but I would like to really thank you for this moment, for the patience to listen to us. And if you really do things, because I know you want to do things right and you want to understand things when it comes to nature, to everything that we have left, you will go after it the way we made it possible for us to be here and be patient to listen to us. I thank these warriors who are sitting in front of us here because they're doing something important. They brought people from the other side of the world here. We crossed the Atlantic to be here. And people say, oh, how did it go? Did you have a good journey? And I said, look, I don't know if it was good because I didn't see anything. I didn't get to experience anything. In the time when our stories and what our story says, we understood why our journey to get to a destination is a place where we know everyone, we talk to everyone, we knew who was brave, who was good, who was evil. We drank water, we know which type of water they had. We knew everything because we walked. We felt the warmth of the life of nature. So I say, I don't know if the journey was good. I know that I just got there and I'm here now. But there's a lot of joy involved. And I just want to wrap up here as well and say that I would like to share something with you. I would like to share the thing that's been holding us together now, which is part of our spiritual world. We've been working to strengthen this in our community. So, for example, in my community, we have something that has existed for a long time, but now we've got new young people from different places, for example, from Peru, from different communities, so that they can get involved and strengthen things. We've been working with Juruá Reserve, so we've brought Guaranis to our community. We went to their communities as well, and we've been doing this with peoples all over Brazil. And this is beautiful. It's not just with indigenous peoples, because we're here now. So when I say all peoples, it's because we're getting to all peoples to try to talk, to understand them. And I will sing this song that's related to our spiritual world, to make our thoughts be light and for us to understand this connection that we need to have with nature and with all beings which are part of our lives. Keep power with our positive energies and feelings. May this be placed upon each and every one of us, and that we can all have a positive thought, and that they can all understand who is who, because life is very strong when you don't know who's the father, who's the son, and who's the family. And our people, this relationship with our world is for one family. That's why we're called Ashaninka. It means people. So we're one family. We're not different from each other.
O ambitane te no ke te yari, o ambitane te nana ne te yari, o ambene ga wango nana kamara bene, o ambene ga wango nana kamara bene. Kamine ne he no ke ne he. Kamine we he, hari wango he, o anega ne te kamarambe pawane, o anega ne te kamarambe pawane. Kamine ne he, hari wango he, kamine we he, hari wango he, o anega ne te kamarambe pawane, o anega ne te kamarambe pawane. O anega ne te wango te he no ke ne pawane. O anega ne te wango te kamarambe pawane. Muito obrigado.
Thank you very much.
So before we invite our poets to the stage, can we just all take a moment to let that land? The incredible humility, the intelligence, the resilience, the kindness, the anger, the fierceness, the transforming that pain into something beautiful, into something unshakable. That we will not put that same pain on others that was put onto us, that the greatest weapon is our resistance. Just allowing the incredible wisdom we've experienced to land into our hearts, into our bodies, being changed forever. And with that, if we can just say another big, massive, massive thank you to our incredible speakers.